Okay. Hello, I think we are live. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, if you can see me. It looks like Chris is here, Nate is here, Nathan's here. Okay. Very cool. I'm just gonna okay, I just got a notification that we're getting more comments. So I'm gonna guess that you can see me and hear me. Hello everyone, I hope you are well. I'm gonna go ahead and try to figure out how to pull up my screen. Let me know if you can see this photo okay. I wonder if I can also add comments while I'm here. Seems to be working perfectly. You're late. Oh no. I'm sorry, Nate. I was having an issue. So last time I had my phone as a webcam and I had this nifty little application and it was working, and this time it's we're stuck with the old MacBook webcam. So that's what's up. So thanks for bearing with me for being 3 minutes late. Oh my gosh, Walker, you're here. Hello. Long time no see. So fun. Oh my gosh, I hope you are well. Cool. Okay, guys, so I might go ahead and jump in, but before I start editing, I just wanted to quickly say I have the comments up right on my second screen that I'm like staring at right now. So if you have any specific questions on how do you do this, how can I do this, whatever you want to know, you let me know, and I'll try to talk through my processes, because a lot of it is just on feeling, and I can definitely try to like verbalize what it is that I'm thinking about when I'm editing, if you write me. So that's that. Andy, hello. Cool beans, guys. I'm so glad you are here. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and jump in here. Sounds like you guys can see my screen. Let me know if that changes at all. Right here we have the raw photo of what we'll be editing today. It honestly looked pretty great in the raw image, but I did do quite a bit of processing, and I'll kind of show you here in Capture One. Do any of you guys also use Capture One, by the way, or are we mostly a Lightroom crew? It would be helpful for me to know in case you guys want me to dive more into my Capture One processes. But a lot of similar things you can do in Lightroom too. So let me know that. These are kind of the different color toning and editing processes that I'm going to talk about today. The before and after, and kind of this like bluish tone. So that's what we'll be talking about. So first things first, I'm going to clone this guy in Lightroom. I believe it's like duplicate image, something like this. However you can duplicate, because I always want to make sure that my raw photo, the original photo, is somewhere protected without any sort of edits on it. So this guy, this copy right here, we're just going to take a look at this and see what does the photo need. And in Capture One, one of the first things I do is create a new adjustment layer for skin. Evening out skin tones is something that Capture One is super powerful at. If you have had the trial or anything, definitely try out this tool, because it's life-saving. This photo is actually kind of a bad example of this tool, but say for example I had really red splotchy cheeks, or the model has really patchy color skin, or say it was like really cold and just discoloration was happening. This tool helps even out all of that, and I still apply it to everything just because. You take the little eyedropper tool, you go here to color editor, skin tone, eyedropper, find a good skin tone. I mean, it's all fine. I usually choose somewhere on the cheeks or like somewhere near a highlight. It will show you down here which color you chose. And then these uniformity sliders just slowly kind of bring all of the similar colors kind of together and more harmoniously. So that's kind of fun. If I drag them all the way over here, you'll see like a really like exaggerated view of what that tool does. I try to keep things really, really subtle in all of my editing. As you can see, it just like gets rid of a little bit of contrast in the skin. And I like that because I'll be going in and adding a little bit more contrast where I want it and kind of being intentional with where my highlights and shadows are. And that's in general my whole approach to editing portraits. So that's that. Let's see, what else would I do here in Capture One? I might do a quick, nope, I'm gonna do color later. Sometimes I try to do color as I'm editing, and sometimes I keep it to the very end because I wanted to make multiple variations and kind of look at them all side by side. So right now we're gonna quickly just jump into Photoshop already. Yeah, cool beans. Let me look at the comments while we are waiting for this to pop in. Bridge and Photoshop for you. Honestly, I never even used Bridge. Capture One for the win. I like that. Lightroom mostly. Lightroom is still a very, very great program. It has been replaced for me. So that's that. Okay, so we have our image here in our lovely Photoshop. One of my first things I do is a frequency separation, mostly because the action I have that I downloaded from I don't even know where years ago, it gets a little wonky when you have additional layers on top and then you try to play that action. It's also just a good place to start editing an image. If you know you want to correct some textures and color, it's definitely my preferred method to start jumping in. So I explained this a lot in my first tutorial, but I'll go ahead and say it here too. Frequency separation is when you, and I'm not the most technical, so if you really want a detailed how-to on it, I would check out a different video. But my explanation is that it separates a photo into two different layers. So we have our details, so any fine lines, anywhere where there's contrast, and I can hide this. This is what that layer looks like on its own. It is just the detail of an image, and vice versa. We have a layer that just has the color of the image. So this is really handy when you're editing a portrait because sometimes you want to target something that is a texture problem. So you'll use the details layer, and sometimes you want to target your editing in a color or like a color scheme, and obviously you would edit that in the color layer. It's very, very helpful for skin retouching, and that's what we're gonna start with. So here we go. I start on my details layer. I get my little clone stamp tool, and I'm also working with a tablet right now that currently it was set to zoom in, so whoops. Okay, so I have my clone stamp, I have my brush, and I'm using the wheel to kind of adjust the size of that brush the whole time, basically my whole time while I'm editing. And then I'm just looking here at what sort of details do I want to soften. I never really try to use this frequency separation to totally like clear out everything. I think that that's kind of a mistake because we definitely want our photos to feel more real, to have texture. So there's that. I'm gonna just start here and around the eyes. Like I said, just kind of softening, using a very, very, very low flow here, and also making sure you're on current layer. Otherwise you'll get some craziness. I'm also just gonna bring it up just a tad. It is my own personal method to edit a little bit too much and then bring down the opacity of the overall layer right here. And that's how I frequency separate. Okay, and again, just like looking around an image for like which textures do I kind of want to get rid of. There's something in my hand here. Maybe we'll soften these lines just a little. And that's pretty much it. I I'm going to teach you how I would go through and kind of remove these distracting hairs and things in the eyes a little later. But right now we're just going to move to our color layer and adjust some colors too. So how I adjust frequency separation on my color layer is I get a lasso tool here, and then I start to think about groupings of color that I want to be more smooth, especially the transition of color. So you see this highlight here on my forehead. I kind of want most of that highlight to be a similar color, right? So, oops, keep that there. We're gonna go to filter Gaussian blur. I try to stay around somewhere like 13, 16, hit OK. And it just barely makes a difference in how that color is distributed. Very, very subtle, but that is the name of the game. So let's try over here and here and here. Cool beans. Sometimes I just do a big wash, especially over hands. Hands have a lot of texture, turns out, and color variations, especially with arms too. We can just be like, take this whole thing and make it more harmonious, please. Okay, so here we are. Looking over the comments, just want to make sure that you guys are still here, because this is the first time I haven't had a second screen up to make sure that I'm actually talking to someone. So send me your location, or tell me what you're doing tonight in the comments if you are if you're here, just so I know. Okay. That's pretty much it, what I would do with frequency separation. Okay, so the next thing I would do is probably apply this basic color toning action that I have. I purchased an action from Emily Soto a few years ago. I believe it's called the Allison color toning action that she has. And I love what it does for like a base layer of color, because then I can go ahead and add more layers on top. And kind of adjust more later. So also, one of my favorite things about it is that it does already a stamp visible layer right here that you see says original. So I can do some more edits on the photo after that. Okay, so this action also has this really fun lighting effect that you can definitely make with the gradient tool on your own. But I think it adds a really nice lighting effect to my images. So let's just run through this. I'm also noticing some comments. Let's see. Nate is down the hall. I'm so glad that you tuned in. Blasting your quads. Great, Chris. And Walter, the shapes you're drawing with the lasso tool for applying Gaussian, do they have a hard edge? That's a great question. No, the lasso tool has a 5% feather up here. Very important to have a little bit of feather with your lasso tool because, yes, otherwise you'll get these really harsh edges, and you don't want that. Joe, hello! I'm so glad you could join. Oh, man, this is all my favorite people in one chat room. I like it. So hopefully that I explained that well enough for you, Walker. If you need me to give you more details, I am ready and willing. So I just trashed a bunch of layers from this action because it applies quite a bit. And once again, trying to really do everything very subtly and a really low opacity. So for this image, and again, I'm like, probably should explain what I'm doing. Here we go. So I applied this. I put everything in here. I'm going to name this color grade so you know what it is. This is it with it fully at 100% opacity, which as you can see is quite a lot. It's almost like a like a filter that's just been stamped on there. And I don't necessarily like that. So I try to bring it all the way down, and then if you click on opacity and just kind of click and drag, you can slowly bring it up. And so I just kind of keep slowly bringing it up until I get to a place that I'm really happy with. And it's probably somewhere around 50% today. Yep, that's that. Cool. So with the color grade kind of ready to go, I'm actually going to hide it just for now because I remember that I wanted to kind of get rid of some of the distracting hairs and like elements and eyes and things like that. And you can do that with this stamp visible tool. How you can get this layer too, say you have a lot of things going on, different adjustment layers on top here, and you want to edit a photo that has all of those things on one layer. The shortcut for that is Command Option Shift E. Yep. And that will just stamp the layer of everything that it can see onto one. So that's usually really, really helpful while I'm editing, especially if I'm playing around and wanting to kind of take a photo to like a crazy direction. Just checking the comments. We have a Hannah from Australia. Hello, thank you so much. Very cool. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you have any questions, please let me know. So let's go ahead and zoom on in here and get rid of some of these distracting things. Also, I am going to duplicate this layer just in case I make a mistake, and I don't want to go back and undo. So I Command J on this original, make a copy. So just like hide this original just for now. This is also just how I do things, so please don't feel like you have to do it this way. Okay, let's see. This is gonna be a real fun one. Okay, let's see. Let's start with this easy one up here. So this little hair I don't necessarily love, so I'm just gonna take this, what is this, Stamp Visible Spot Healing Brush, of course, I knew that. And kind of make little baby marks and drags to kind of get rid of any sort of distracting hair. And this, and I use my Z and drag in to zoom. Go back to that tool, and let's see. If Pratik was here, he would yell at me so much right now. I can hear him screaming somewhere, but this is how I do it. Yeah, and honestly, I think this is good enough for Instagram, you know? A lot of the times I feel like we freak out about doing things the right way, and sometimes it's just like, you gotta let yourself have a play first, you know? I'm gonna go ahead and try to attack some of these fine lines here. It seems like this brush is doing a good job. Sometimes this brush does not do a good job, you know, and you have to adjust. What I'm kind of looking for also is just distracting things in the images, right? So this little moon glitter guy, he's got to go. So does this guy. Anything that's kind of taking your eye away from the overall mood is what I'm trying to kind of get rid of. Also leading lines, like this little hair was kind of going into there. It's definitely not going to be perfect, especially for like this quick live. When I edited this photo, I think it took me like over an hour, and I'm really going to try to keep you guys like in here in under 40 or so minutes. So this is definitely the quick and dirty way. So let's see. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Up here we have a lot of crazy little hairs too. This tool kind of does a good job at getting rid of them. Just drawing little lines. All these little things. There's also something to be said about like nothing can be perfect, because then it definitely looks photoshopped. But again, I'm just trying to get rid of like especially the very distracting elements, like whatever this is in the wall. Goodbye. And this thing too. Okay, I think that's at a good place. The next step I would do with this is probably do some liquifying, just because it is my favorite thing ever. So filter, liquify. I mostly like to focus on hair and keep it still kind of looking natural, but more enhanced. And it used to be something that really, really scared me to edit, because it's very unforgiving when you start to take liquifying too far, right? It's easy to take things too far. For example, if you get this big old liquify brush and click and drag too much, it's gonna do a lot of weird things that you don't want. So I'm gonna Command Z, undo that. My approach is to take baby taps and baby pulls, right? Just like really, really subtle. I like to use a big brush and keep the center on the background, or at least not on the hair itself. You see how the brush is kind of off to the side and it's using just that very edge. I think that kind of helps keep things a little bit more believable, a little bit more, nicer. I'm also just looking at hair and how it's naturally curving and trying to exaggerate those curls a little bit. So taking maybe this edge down here and pushing in or up. And this curl here, we're going to push over. Again, it's really, really delicate working with hair, because if you do zoom in, sometimes you can see a lot of really crazy artifacts, and you don't want that. But also, if it's up on Instagram only, then, you know, people are going to see it on their phones, and that's fine. Okay. I'm going to preview, make sure I didn't change things too much. This is actually a really mellow hair edit. Sometimes it gets like crazy. So yeah, this one's pretty much done. Sometimes I'll just to demonstrate, I also use the bloat tool when editing hair. Let's see, where's a good example? Up here maybe. This kind of helps that illusion of making hair fuller. That especially is good on curls that are coming towards you, or if you just want to make hair look like you have more of it, which for me is always. So there we go. Okay, cool beans. So let's just toggle that on and off. Again, very, very subtle, just getting rid of the little things that are distracting. I'll add back on the color grade here for now. And this is looking great already. The next step for me will be a little dodge and burn. And how I do this is in levels. There are so many different ways that you can dodge and burn an image. A lot of people use curves. They have actions for it. I prefer to do this in layers, and again, very subtly and kind of building on top of each layer. So the first one I'll do is for highlights. So I'm going to take this middle point and drag it over to the left to kind of brighten certain areas. So right now the preview is going to show you what it looks like at full opacity. That's, to me, seems pretty much okay. I'm going to invert this layer, Command I, and also paint on with a white brush the areas that I want to have a highlight. I just saw a comment come in, so I just want to make sure. I like your point about Instagram. I think all art pursuits can benefit from the concept of sketching. Doing less a lot more often can really increase skill. I like that a lot too. Also, it's just a reminder to like have fun doing it, right? So if you're not having fun editing an image, then try to go back to like where it is about photo editing that excites you or that interests you. And so for me, that's always just, you know, enhancing and finding new ways to be creative with color, and really kind of caring less about what other people think or want, and you know, doing the stuff that you want to do. So yeah, that being said, I have no problems with you know, things like changing hair. I think in the one variant of the final image of this too, you can see how this Band-Aid kind of comes off the nose. This is like a really advanced thing, by the way. I tried to make it so that shadow was a little bit less. If you're interested in seeing something like that, it is definitely a little bit more advanced. Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, we'll basically just do the color grade, some dodge and burn, and sharpening, and that's where this image is going. Also, I know I did quite a bit of color toning in Capture One, so those are the future steps for this. So if you want to see anything that I didn't just mention, let me know. Cool beans. So we're over here. I'm going to change this to highlights. Make sure I'm on the mask and I have my white brush, and like I said, we're just going to be painting in highlights. So this is definitely like a painterly style way of editing, and especially dodging and burning. When I am thinking about where are the highlights, I'm looking at this image and I'm noticing where there's naturally highlights, and I'm also thinking in my head, where do I want there to be additional highlights? I study a lot of art, of portraits, of painters, of makeup, and I've really started to understand how face charts kind of work in that way, and applying that knowledge towards my my portraits and my self-portraits has really helped, especially in editing. And when I say helped, I mean mostly like get the image to a place that I'm happy with. So here we go. So highlights here on the nose, here on the forehead, and tops of cheeks. And then wherever there's naturally these little fine lines, so lips, sometimes it's in the hair, sometimes it's the tops of hands or the middle of arms, definitely shoulders, anywhere where you can see. Even you can dodge and burn, obviously, inanimate objects. This rim of the stool here will make it kind of pop out. And obviously, let's not forget the little eyes. Be very careful about where you're putting highlights and shadows around eyes, because it can really start to look fake and photoshopped, and you definitely don't want that. Well, I mean, maybe you do. Maybe you do. I'm trying to always be subtle. Okay, so that was my first pass for highlights. Now over here, I'm going to do shadows, and again, I'm going to Command I this layer mask and paint in with a white brush on that layer mask where I want those shadows, right? So this whole level thing is just the midtones brought down and masked, so it's an entire black mask, and then I'm painting in white, telling it where I want it to show those shadows. Oh, hello. We're at the point where I can feel Photoshop saying, help me. Okay, so once again, the method here is to think about now the opposite. Where do we want our shadows? Usually you want shadows all around your face and on the edges, essentially, of skin, right? So in the middle of the arm and on the edge of the arm, you can see how this just instantly kind of, it just changes the whole image. If you were very fancy, you would make a very tiny brush and go in between every finger and in the hair. This flow should probably be a little bit low. It's always good to start with a very low flow brush, otherwise you'll be erasing some things. Very small taps here. Okay. Sometimes I just take a big shadow and put it behind me just to add more effect. I'm going to zoom in to the face here so I can get in on the shadows. So once again, about adding shadows to face, usually you want to contour a nose and cheekbones and also underneath the eyebrow. And these just help all of those features kind of stand out a little bit more. So right here under the eyebrow, into the nose, under the nose, and in here, and that's basically it. I'm gonna just darken this whole band-aid because it seems like that glitter kind of got clipped a little bit. Adding shadow can really help everything. Okay, so this is probably a really good first pass. It's actually probably a lot. Yeah, wow. When you're so zoomed in, sometimes it feels like, yeah, this is great, and then you zoom out and you're like, actually, that's a lot. So the before and after of just the shadows is quite drastic. So I'm going to take the opacity and bring it way down, maybe even more than that. But the highlights, yeah, that's also quite a bit too. So let's bring this down on its own too. Maybe here. And put this in a folder called Dodge and Burn. And toggle that. Basically, my Photoshop process is just toggling visibility the entire time. Cool. Okay, so very, very subtle. I'll probably do just one more pass of Dodge and Burn, just in certain areas that I want to draw more attention to. For example, eyes. So I'm going to take this highlight, just this highlight. Try not to get too much. If you do get into the eye, just make sure it's a really, really tiny brush, like this. Itty bitty tiny. And let's see, maybe this little highlight too. And this one. And then get my shadows. Do the same. Once you start to get this little shadow, it's almost like underneath the eyelid. It really helps, I think, bring a sharpness to a portrait. Also, that was a little bit too much. I'm gonna get that white brush and undo that a little bit. That looks great. I also forgot that I wanted to add a little bit of sharpness to this, so I'm gonna do that. Okay, so how I add sharpness, I also did this last time, so I'm sorry for the people that were here last time, because you're getting basically a whole new photo, all same steps. I'm going to Command J that original copy 2 layer right here and rename it sharpness. How I sharpen my images sometimes is I go to Filter, Other, High Pass, and somewhere around here is fine. You can probably bring it down because we're gonna have to bring down the opacity quite a bit. This is way over. Change the layer style to overlay, and then bring this opacity way down. And also you'll want to add a mask and Command I invert it. So it's not applying any sort of sharpening right now. It's hidden on a layer until you bring in your brush and tell it exactly where you want to sharpen. So once again, I'm gonna zoom in and choose what areas with a white brush where I want to sharpen. So just this part of the eye, the iris here, and also maybe this top of the band-aid, because I notice it's a little bit blurry. I don't know if you can see that on your screen, but definitely for me it's looking a little not sharp. Maybe these little freckles too. And this, basically anywhere where you think that it could use a little bit more sharpness. But it's also good to note. Say for example, I don't know if you can see, but this shoulder right here is quite sharp. It's almost like that's where the focus point is. So I definitely don't want to hit it with a sharpen on areas that are not the focus, that are already sharp, because then it's really going to attract your eye, and you don't want that. So that's pretty good for me. Let me toggle, make sure it's not too much. I think it's perfect. Cool. So this is basically where I would leave it in Photoshop. Maybe I would go to some actions that I have and play around and see if anything would be fun. I know off the bat I have this really fun one from Lara Jade's Action Pack that's called Isla, right here. It's in her color set 2, it looks like. So I'm going to play that. It's going to be a crazy blue, but I love blue. And I'm going to bring down this opacity overall to something very, very, very subtle, like, yeah, maybe even less than this. And sometimes it doesn't work out. And sometimes I go in and mask things like just the background, or just my face, or whatever it is, and color tone that way. So yeah, we'll leave this something very low, like 8%, and I think take it back into Capture, because there's a few different color toning things in Capture that I want to go over, that I couldn't necessarily go over next time. So this is saving. I'm going to go over here, look at comments. Looks like Walker. Let's see. I think I can click and add this to broadcast. Do you tend to edit a photo all in one sitting, or do you find it helpful to take a break and come back to it? Most of my art looks bizarrely different to me after 24 hours. So this is a really funny question, because I go back and make variations all the time, like all the time. I do a mixture of this. Sometimes I'm in the zone and it's like everything just gets done and edited. And sometimes I will edit something and then it'll sit for a day, or it'll sit for a week, and I'll come back and I'll have an entire different like mindset about how I want to edit it, or color it, or add to it. I'm definitely at this point in my work where sometimes I'm happy with the images, but I'm not necessarily happy with the concept. So I'm always trying to think, what can take this photo to the next level? So I actually posted a reel today talking about this particular photo shoot and how I let's see if I can get rid of that. How I was taking these photos and I was really happy with them, but I keep thinking like, okay, what makes this not just like a pretty portrait and takes it into this like more interesting level of photo? So adding this like glitter band-aid that just kind of makes you think like, well, why is it there? That type of thing. And I've been doing that also with adding things into frame, right? Like maybe I want to add snow, or like some sort of effect with smoke or something, and like how can this add to that image? So because of this is my new mindset, I'm just like constantly going back through old work and thinking about like how can I do this differently, completely differently. So yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same exact way, Walker. So let's go into Capture One and find our photo that we just did. Looks like it is right here. Is that it? Uh-oh, this is the issue, is that we just had edited something that I've already edited. Here we go. Okay. If we save as. Oh, wait a minute. I've forgotten a very crucial step. I should crop this so that it is level. It's one of my biggest pet peeves to have these photos have these crazy sort of why are you like this? Original. Here we go. The brick wasn't exactly level, so just taking this, and I prefer the crop tool in Photoshop over Capture One. I'm sorry if my Capture One friends are watching. Also, I like, and this is also a feature in Capture One too, but I like that it has this rule of thirds because I can easily tell where I need to compose, right? So always wanting the interesting things or things to kind of line up on these lines or where the lines intersect. So if I want this to be a very center image, then I'm probably going to try to keep that line somewhere around my mouth, I guess, here. And I think that will work for now. So we're going to accept, let it crop. I can hear the fans going on my computer and it's like, help me. So, wow, I hope that this is loading in properly for y'all. Okay, so let me just rename this to that, and then I know how to find it in Capture One. Saving. Let's go back here. Oh, wow, thank you guys. I'm just looking at the chat now. You guys, man, I'm just so glad that you all are here. Like I said, if there's anything you want me to talk about or dive more into, I really don't mind. I'm an open book. Or anything, you know. You can ask me how loud Emily chews. Okay. She's going to storm out of her room and be like, oh my God, I can't believe you. Okay, so here we go. In Capture One, we're going to find this photo that I just edited. Here it is, _2. And we are going to color tone this thing now. How I do this a number of ways actually. I like to look for inspiration first before I settle in color, or I start to make a whole bunch of variations of different colors and flip through them and see which one I prefer the best. I'll go ahead and show you what some of the Capture One presets I have look like and how easy it is to kind of flip through for inspiration. These are usually way overdone, so I'll take the opacity again and just bring it down. But sometimes I just like to go through each of these and see kind of if there's any colors or textures or anything that I like. Uh-oh, I'm beach balling. This is not good. Why am I beach balling? Huh. Well then, I think I might have killed my computer. Oh, I'm looking at the screen. You can't even see a beach ball. You're seeing my cursor. All right, well, time to close some things, like Photoshop. Oh, I see. It's doing a thing. I guess I didn't let it save. I got too impatient. But it was really just the crop, so I'm not that bothered. Okay. Well, I suppose that we have to wait until Photoshop decides to stop saving down here. The funny thing about this program that I'm using to broadcast is that I can only see how many likes there are and how many comments there are, not how many people are watching or anything like that. So feel free to talk to me, especially when my computer decides to do this thing and not work. Okay, but I think we're here now. And I think it started to apply something that I really didn't want it to. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and not do that. But like I said, I just like to go through here and cycle through different colors to see if I'm inspired by anything. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not, especially the black and whites. Black and white always is something that I do on a variant, so I'll copy everything and make a black and white version, but it's rare that I just love an image in black and white so much that I won't go ahead and edit something in color. I'm really into just dumping a lot of blue lately in photos, so this is a color toning that I'm actually really liking, but I'll go ahead and show you how I made that preset in the color balance tool. So here in Capture One, we have a lot of really sophisticated coloring options, and I'll go ahead and show you how I will color grade and also fun different ways that you can use Capture One to change colors. So The color grade that I did for this image is, okay, well, I don't see it anymore, but I can definitely recreate it. I take the midtones, I kind of spin this wheel around until I see colors that I like, and keeping it closer to the center will obviously keep it more subtle. And I think for this image, it's somewhere in this blue area, really low. This color, or this wheel, will make it more or less blue. So we're definitely keeping it down here. The shadow, I believe I want something a little bit warmer, maybe like an orange, yeah, or a pink, yeah, somewhere around there. And then highlight again with cyan / blue. I really like somewhere around here, and then bringing this down, again toggling it. You can also change the opacity of that overall layer, which is really nice. And I think that this is pretty dang close to where it was before. You can also add another filled layer, and I can just name this blue if I want to add more blue in highlights, or just take a different color, any color, mask it. You can do that in this program. Bring that way down. Cool. Okay, so this is pretty much how I edited the photo. So in terms of the tutorial, I'm pretty much all wrapped up. Now I'm just going to show you some fun things in Capture One, unless you guys have any questions. And I just noticed we have one from Joanna. She says, how do you handle your edit flow when you have larger quantity of images, 10 to 20? That is a great question. What I used to do is do this process to all 20, 30 images. But you can, in Capture One, do similarly, like you can edit in Lightroom. You can copy your adjustments and then paste them to the next photo. So it'll just obviously be those Capture One adjustments. But it does help if you have presets, if you have contrast adjustments, if you have color grading that you want to apply to all of your images, you can just literally select them all and hit apply. I'm not going to do that because it will get crazy up in here. Okay, so we're back to our image here. And the one last thing I kind of wanted to show you is a fun like color switching tool. So I'm just going to name this purple for now. One of my next favorite things about Capture One is that it has so much better of a color replacement tool than I think Photoshop. You can choose a color with this color picker, basically any color you want. I'm going to choose this purpley color because it's not really a lot in the rest of the image. And you can tell it to change that hue to something else. You can say, I want it more or less purple. You can say I want it more or less saturated. You can say I would like it to include similar colors. So if we drag this, then it's going to affect, I'm going to also take it a little bit away from that. Once we start to get into red, it gets too much into skin tone. You can also mask in this program too, which is really, really cool. But I just wanted to show you that too, because I think it's definitely a lot better than Photoshop to me for choosing specific colors and wanting to edit those. So if I was wanting to make this wig a little bit more, I don't know, more blue, more of this lavender color, I would literally do this. And then if there was any distracting elements, I would take my brush and I would take my eraser, and then I would mask out areas, similarly like I would do in Photoshop. And I don't think it has to be as exact like masking in Photoshop because it's only affecting the purple colors. But if you start to drag this into more skin tone, then wow. You can, just like the creative possibilities are endless, and I love it so much. So as you can see, it's just a lot more purple, and I like that. Okay, well those were the things that I wanted to teach you. Let me just look over here. Joanne, depends on the images you are processing. I fix one and use copy and paste to apply. Yeah, there's so many ways. If you're using Capture One, I would definitely recommend using this copy and apply tools up here. Just note, if you, again, are using Capture One, when you copy, you're copying just these layers. And when you want to paste, and you want to paste to more than one photo, you have to hit Edit Selected and hit Apply. Otherwise, it ain't gonna work. And that's that. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this. I guess let me know if you have any questions. I don't think that I did anything else except for this like advanced kind of retouching on the Band-Aid in Photoshop. And I mean, I won't do that now because especially my computer is seeming like it's a little angry. But with the liquify tool, I just tried to bring that Band-Aid so it made that shadow a little less pronounced. Just kind of giving that that look that it's actually stuck a little bit more to my nose instead of kind of hovering off a little bit and causing a shadow. That's pretty much it. Okay guys, well I really hope that you enjoyed this. Please let me know if you have any future photos that you would like me to go through and edit. And if there's any specific tools that you're wanting to learn more